Hi students, hope you are well and you all are fine. So let us start today's discussion. In continuation with my previous discussion on communication, this would be our second discussion. So let us start. Today we will be discussing about the barriers to effective communication. That means what are the barriers are there that affects communication. So first, you'll have to consider physical barrier. Physical barrier means the kind of barriers comes from physical aspect. So in organization, because of a lot of physical barriers, communication may fail. So such kind of physical barriers may be if you are using old or broken equipment, if you are communicating in uncomfortable temperature, uh, whether sender or listener, both they are in uncomfortable temperature. If any kind of background noise is coming, then it may affect communication. Then poor lighting also, it may so happen for poor lighting, non-verbal communication may get affected. So this kind of things are, if you're communicating closed door, that means if the communication is not going out because of closed door. So if you are communicating from a cabin where the door is closed, so this kind of physical barriers are there for which communication may get affected. So that is why open space office is becoming popular nowadays. So that communication, effective communication may prevail in an organization. So let us see what is the next second type of barrier. Second type of barrier is psychological barrier. Psychological barrier, that means communication may also get affected because of psychological barriers. That means if anyone is suffering out of anxiety, if anyone is having low self-esteem, so that particular person, that particular sender will not be able to communicate with others effectively. If anyone is feeling nervous, so the people who is feeling nervous, it would be very difficult for him to communicate with others. So these are the psychological barriers that may prevail in an organization, that because of this communication may get affected. Anger also. Hmm. Because of anger, it may lead to misinterpretation. So psychological barriers also must be avoided while communication. Then third type of barrier is organizational structure barrier. Organizational structure barrier, that means if the structure of the organization is of such a kind that communication becomes difficult. It becomes difficult for communication to flow from another hierarchy. So if insufficient information sharing and communication system is there, so other employees will not be able to get the information, to get they'll not be able to involve in active participation in that particular communication. So organizational structure must be well formed to come out from this organizational to combat with this organizational barrier of communication. Next, perceptual barriers. Perceptual, we all have different kind of perception because we individuals are not same. We have different opinion. We may have on a particular issue. We have different opinion. We have different views. So because of these different opinion and different views, what happens? Communication may get affected. So while conversation, if person having different communication, different opinion and different view, so he or she will not accept the communication in a proper manner. The way it has to be there, it will not be effective. So because of perceptual barrier, communication may also get affected. Then attentional barriers. So attentional barriers means the person with whom you are talking, you are in talk, he or she may not have enough attention to listen to you. So in that case, what happens? Whatever information you are intended to share with him or her, it will not be there. It will not be in a proper way, appropriate way. So that person, because of not having not enough attention, will feel uninterested, and he'll not get the clear message what you are intending to say. So because of attentional barriers, also communication gets affected. Then if you're trying to convey too much information, so because of giving too much information, that is, it is called information overload. So if he or she is overloaded with a lot of information, then he'll feel frustrated. So in that case, uh, giving too much information means conveying too much information also uh, very harmful for effective communication. So we should avoid it. Otherwise, what will happen? Uh, Confusion will create, and from confusion, if he is not understanding whatever you are intending to say, but if it is important also, he will become frustrated. So from confusion, it will become frustration. Okay, so we need to avoid it. Information overload should not be there in communication. Then emotional barriers. Because of emotional barriers also, because of emotion, different emotion, communication may also get affected. Like mostly, if I talk about fear, so you'll see out of fear, a lot of people are there. They think that if I say this particular thing, it will not be accepted. My viewpoint would be rejected in front of management. If a particular person thinks in that way, so if out of fear, he will not be able to communicate with others properly. Okay, so emotional barriers also very much destructive. Emotional barriers also very much destructive for effective communication. Then obviously cultural barriers. We are not from same culture in an organization. A lot of people work, a lot of employees work in an organization, and they are from a different culture, different region, different culture. So because of having different norms, as people are from different culture, they'll have separate set of norms that may not be accepted by the person who is coming from another culture. So these cultural barriers also become disruptive for effective communication. Then another point is that semantic and language barrier. That means if there is language difference between the speaker and the listener, that means if there is language difference between the sender and the receiver, who is sending the information and who is receiving the information, if there is language difference, then what will happen? The receiver will not be able to understand whatever information the sender is trying to say. So in that case, the receiver will not receive the appropriate information, whatever the sender is intending to say, and the communication, ultimately the communication will become disruptive, will be fail. So using a lot of jargons, using unfamiliar expressions also, using slang, using very technical terminology. Because of this also communication may fail. So it is another kind of barrier of effective communication. Then interpersonal barriers. If I talk about interpersonal barriers, we experience these interpersonal barriers quite often. If anyone is having low self-esteem, if there is kind of hostility between the sender and the receiver, if there is ego clash between the sender or receiver, so what it does, it prevents it prevents the flowing of communication, the flowing of information from the sender or receiver if there is prejudices. In that case, interpersonal barriers also may become disruptive for effective communication. Okay. Then psychological barriers, physiological barriers. Physiological barriers, psychological barriers, we already talked about psychological barriers. Now we'll be talking about physiological barriers. Physiological barriers, that means if anyone is having poor eyesight, you'll not be able to see whatever expression you are using while communication. If this is negative expression you are using, or you are giving positive expression. If anyone is having hearing problem, illness, pain, so their attention will go, if anyone is suffering from illness, if anyone is having pain, the main focus will go to their pain, to their illness. So what will happen ultimately, the information, whatever the sender is trying to say, the receiver, if he is suffering from pain, if he is having poor eyesight, if he is having hearing problem, will not be able to understand, or he will not be able to see whatever expression you are using, whatever information you are trying to convey, will not be able to receive. So in that case, physical barriers also may become disruptive for effective communication. The next thing is the status. We know that in each and every organization, there are structure is there, hierarchy is there. Okay, so if, and you may experience that those who are in management, they try to maintain separate kind of status, and quite often they try to prevent few information to flow to the employees, to the lower level employees, for the purpose of maintaining the status. So they actually, these people, those who are residing at the topmost position of the organizational hierarchy, they try to hold some information. They do not want to want it to flow, want it to go down. So in that case, so maintaining this status also sometimes become disruptive for effective communication. So subordinates may not get clear idea, may not get appropriate information from the management, the whole information. They may receive partial information. So in this way, maintaining status also become disruptive for effective communication. Then we all know a shortage of time. Shortage of time due to lack of time. If you are devoting less time for communicating with other people, with your subordinates, with the other staffs. So due to lack of time, you may not be able to convey the appropriate information, whatever you tried to convey. And because of this, you are in hurry. You may miss some information what you intended to say. So in this ways, shortage of time may become disruptive for effective communication. So we'll have to give appropriate time for conveying the actual information, whatever we try to convey to the other person. So for today, we are ending this video here. In my next video, we'll be discussing about how to make communication effective. So stay safe and take care. Thank you all of you.